How I learned English. When I was a child, I did not speak English at all. I lived in a small town with my family and friends. Everyone around me spoke the same language every day. I went to school, played outside, and felt happy. English was not important in my daily life. I never thought about learning it before, but one day, everything changed for me forever. My father got a new job in a big city far away. We had to move from our small town to a new place. The city was big, loud, and very different from my home. People spoke English everywhere we went. The signs and shops had only English words on them. At my new school, the teacher spoke only English all the time. I felt lost and confused every single day. At school, I sat alone and watched other kids talk and laugh. I did not understand anything they said to each other. The teacher asked me questions, but I could not answer at all. I felt sad because I could not talk to anyone. The days were long, difficult, and lonely for me. I missed my old home, my old school, and my old friends. One day, I saw a boy playing happily with a ball outside. He smiled at me and said something in English. I did not understand his words, but I understood his smile very well. He gave me the ball, and I kicked it back to him. We played together without using any words. In that moment, I felt happy and not so alone anymore. That night, I told my father about the boy at school. He listened to me and smiled kindly. He said, "Oh, if you can learn English. Just listen to people and try your best." I was not sure if I could do it at all. English seemed very hard and confusing for me. But I wanted to try because I wanted to make friends and feel happy. The next day, I started to listen more carefully. I watched my classmates when they talked to each other. I tried to understand their words and actions slowly. At first, everything sounded too fast and strange for me, but I did not stop or give up. I knew that I needed time, patience, and a lot of practice. I also started to watch English cartoons at home. The characters spoke slowly and used simple words I could follow. I listened very carefully and repeated the words after them. It was fun, interesting, and helpful for me. I learned new words every single day. I started to understand small things, and I felt excited to learn more. Learning English was not easy for me at all. Some days I felt like I was not learning anything new, but I remembered what my father told me. I listened, I watched, and I tried my best every day. Slowly, English started to make sense in my mind. My long journey had just begun, and I was ready for it. Every day, I listened to English as much as I could. At school, I listened to my teacher carefully. I watched my classmates when they spoke to each other. I did not understand everything, but I tried to guess the meaning. Some words sounded familiar after a while. I started to recognize them in different places. Slowly, I felt a little more comfortable. At home, I continued to practice English. I watched cartoons with subtitles and repeated the words. I listened to simple songs and tried to sing along. I did not know all the words, but I enjoyed the sounds. My father saw my effort and encouraged me. He told me every little step is important. Keep going. One day at school, the boy with the ball came to me again. He said something, and this time I understood one word. He said, "Play." I smiled and nodded. We played together, just like before, but this time I wanted to try speaking. I pointed at the ball and said, "Pole." He smiled and repeated the word. It was a small moment, but it felt big to me. After that day, I felt braver. I started saying simple words. When I wanted something, I tried to say it in English. Sometimes I made mistakes, and people laughed. But I did not stop. I learned that mistakes were part of learning. The more I tried, the more I improved. At school, my teacher noticed my effort. She gave me a small book with pictures and simple words. Every night I read a few pages. At first it was difficult, but I did not give up. I learned new words every day. Reading helped me understand English better. It made me feel more confident. One day, my teacher asked me to read a short sentence in class. I was nervous, but I tried. My voice was quiet, and I read slowly. When I finished, the teacher smiled and said, "Oh, good job." My classmates clapped for me. I felt proud of myself. It was a small step, but it meant a lot. I kept practicing every day. I spoke more with my classmates. I listened to new words and tried to use them. I still made mistakes, but I learned from them. My English was getting better, little by little. I started to enjoy learning. It was no longer scary for me. Learning a new language takes time. Some days were easy, and some days were hard. But I did not stop. I remembered my father's words. Every little step is important. I knew that if I kept trying one day, I would speak English well. My journey was not over yet. After some time, I felt more comfortable with English. I still made mistakes, but I understood more words. At school, I listened carefully to my teacher. I tried to answer questions, even if I was not sure. My classmates noticed my effort and helped me. They spoke slowly so I could understand better. I felt happy because I was learning. At home, I practiced every evening. My father gave me a small notebook. He told me to write new words in it. Every day, I wrote 3 new words and their meanings. I read them before bed and tried to use them the next day. This helped me remember new words faster. I started to feel more confident when I spoke. One day, my teacher gave us a writing task. We had to write a short story in English. At first, I was nervous. I did not know many words, and I was afraid of making mistakes. But I remembered my father's advice. I tried my best. I wrote a simple story about a boy and his dog. It was not perfect, but my teacher was happy with my effort. After that, I wanted to practice more. I started watching children's movies in English. At first, I used subtitles in my language, but after some time, I changed them to English. It was difficult, but I understood more than before. I learned new words from the movies. This made learning fun for me. Speaking was still the hardest part for me. Sometimes I knew the words, but I was too shy to say them. One day, my teacher asked me to talk about my favourite hobby. I took a deep breath and spoke. I made mistakes, but my teacher smiled and encouraged me. I realised that making mistakes was okay. I just needed to keep trying. I also made a new friend at school. He spoke English well and helped me practice. Every day we talked about simple things. He taught me new words, and I taught him some words from my language. We laughed when we made mistakes. Learning with a friend made everything easier and more enjoyable. Over time, I felt more confident. I no longer felt lost when people spoke English around me. I could understand conversations better. I could read simple books and write small sentences. English was still challenging, but it was not impossible. I knew I was improving. Learning a new language takes patience and effort. Some days I felt tired and frustrated, but I did not give up. I remembered my small victories and kept moving forward. I knew that if I continued practicing, one day I would speak English fluently. My journey was still not over. As time passed, my English skills improved little by little. I still made mistakes, but I was not afraid to try anymore. At school, I listened to my teacher carefully and answered more questions. My classmates noticed my progress and spoke with me more often. They helped me when I did not understand something. Their support made me feel more confident every day. At home, I continued to practice English in different ways. I still wrote new words in my notebook every evening, but now I also try to write small sentences with them. My father checked my sentences and helped me correct mistakes. Writing became easier for me, and I learned to express my thoughts better. I started to enjoy learning English more than before. One day, my teacher gave us another writing task. This time, we had to write about our favourite day. I felt more confident than before. I wrote about my birthday and how I spent it with my family. My sentences were not perfect, but they were better than my first story. When my teacher read my work, she smiled and said, "Oh, you are improving." Those words made me very happy. Watching English movies and cartoons also helped me a lot. I continued watching with English subtitles and listened carefully to the words. At first, I still needed to read the subtitles to understand, but slowly I started to recognize more words just by listening. One day, I watched a short movie without subtitles, and I understood most of it. That was a big moment for me. Speaking was still difficult, but I did not stop trying. One day, I had to give a short presentation in class. I was nervous, but I prepared well. I practiced in front of the mirror and repeated my sentences many times. When the day came, I took a deep breath and spoke clearly. I made some mistakes, but my classmates clapped for me. That gave me more confidence. My friend at school continued to help me with English. Every day we talked about different things like school, hobbies and favourite foods. He taught me new words, and I taught him some words from my language. We laughed at our mistakes and corrected each other. Speaking with a friend made learning more fun and natural. Over time, I started to feel comfortable with English. I could read simple books without much difficulty. I could understand conversations better and reply with short sentences. My writing also improved, and I could express myself more clearly. English was no longer a scary language for me. It became a part of my daily life. Learning a language is a long journey, and I knew I still had more to learn. Some days were easy, and some days were difficult, but I never gave up. I remembered my father's words and kept going. Every little step brought me closer to fluency. I was excited to see how much more I could improve. With time, my English skills became stronger. I still had a lot to learn, but I was no longer afraid of the language. At school, I answered more questions in class. I could understand my teacher better, and I followed lessons more easily. My classmates talked to me more often, and I could join their conversations. This made me feel happy and more confident every day. At home, I continued my daily practice. I wrote new words in my notebook and made sentences with them. But now I also tried to write short paragraphs. My father checked my writing and gave me advice. He told me to keep practicing and never stop learning. Writing became easier for me, and I felt proud of my progress. I could see that my hard work was paying off. One day my teacher gave us a reading assignment. We had to read a short English story and answer questions. At first, I was nervous because reading was still difficult for me, but I took my time, read slowly, and tried to understand each sentence. When I finished, I was surprised. I understood most of the story. That moment showed me how much I had improved. Watching English movies continued to help me a lot. I still used subtitles, but now I understood more just by listening. One day, I challenged myself to watch a short movie without any subtitles. At first, it was difficult, but I could follow the story. I realized that my listening skills were improving. That gave me more motivation to keep practicing every day. Speaking English was becoming easier, but I still needed more practice. My teacher gave us a new task. We had to introduce ourselves in English. I prepared my sentences and practiced in front of the mirror. When my turn came, I spoke with confidence. I made a few mistakes, but my classmates listened and smiled. Their support made me feel proud of myself. My best friend at school continued to help me with English. Every day we talked about different topics. He taught me new words and I tried to use them in sentences. Sometimes I made mistakes, but he corrected me in a kind way. Speaking with him every day made me more comfortable with the language. It became a fun part of my daily routine. Over time, I noticed that English was no longer so difficult for me. I could read short books, write small stories, and understand conversations. I even started to think in English sometimes. My progress made me feel excited and motivated to learn even more. I knew that I was on the right path. Learning a new language takes time, patience, and effort. Some days were easy, and some days were hard, But I never gave up because I knew that every small step mattered. I was closer to fluency than ever before, and I felt ready for the final part of my journey. After many months of practice, my English had improved a lot. I understood my teacher better and could follow lessons without difficulty. Speaking was still a little hard, but I was not afraid to try anymore. I joined conversations in class and answered questions with more confidence. My classmates noticed my improvement and talked to me more often. I made mistakes, but I learned from them, and each mistake helped me improve. At home, I kept practicing every day. I read simple English books and wrote short stories. My father continued to check my writing, and he always gave me useful advice. He told me to keep practicing, even if I made mistakes. I also started listening to English podcasts and songs. At first, it was hard to understand, but I kept trying. Over time, I understood more words and sentences. One day, my teacher gave us a task to write a short speech about our favourite day. I felt nervous at first, but I prepared well. I practiced in front of the mirror and made sure I could say my sentences clearly. When the day came, I took a deep breath and spoke in front of the class. I made a few mistakes, but everyone listened carefully. When I finished, my teacher smiled and said I had done a good job. Watching English movies also helped me a lot. At first, I used subtitles to understand, but later I started to understand the words even without them. I watched one movie without subtitles and understood most of it. That was a big moment for me. It showed me how much my listening skills had improved. Speaking English was still a bit difficult, but I practiced every day. I spoke with my friend at school, and we helped each other learn new words. Sometimes I helped him with his English, and he helped me with mine. Speaking every day made me feel more comfortable with the language. It became easier to speak without thinking too much. At school, my teacher noticed how much I had improved. One day, she gave us a listening task. We had to listen to a short conversation and answer some questions. I was nervous at first, but I listened carefully and understood most of it. When I finished the task, my teacher said I did a great job. It made me feel proud of myself. I also started reading longer books in English. At first, they were difficult, but I didn't give up. I read one chapter every day and tried to understand as much as I could. Slowly, I began to understand more and read faster. My reading skills were improving, and I started to enjoy reading in English. My father continued to support me and encouraged me to speak more English at home. We started having simple conversations in English. Sometimes we talked about our day or shared stories from our childhood. Speaking with him helped me practice new words and feel more confident. I started thinking in English more often. One day, I had to give a presentation in front of the class. I was nervous, but I had practiced a lot. I spoke clearly and explained my topic. I made a few mistakes, but everyone listened carefully and supported me. When I finished, my classmates clapped for me. I was so happy and proud. Learning English was a long journey, but it was worth every moment. There were difficult days, but I never gave up. I made many mistakes, but I learned from them. Now I could read, write, and speak in English without fear. I knew I still had more to learn, but I was excited to continue my journey.